Susan's going to give us the pleasure of a few remarks now. And I'll put this here for you, Susan. Well, I'll take it down to your table.
Okay, thanks. I'm used to hiding, behind a computer or behind a microphone at a radio station, so I get the flop sweats and the cotton mouth, so bear with me here. But it really is just not only a thrill, but refreshing to be thanked and to be honored for shooting my mouth off in print for 40 years about women's reproductive freedom and other rights for women, and a lot of other issues that brought attention. The right of women to live free of homemade violence, the right of human beings to love and marry who they want to love and marry. When you write about things like that as relentlessly, and in the program it says tirelessly, some people said tiresomely, for as long as I did, you're really never lonely. But you're never really surrounded by so many friendly faces as this. You're often, the people that you hear from are the people who would like to see you burn in hell, basically, and kind of want to tell you how to get there and help you get there. I've been told by other people, more friendly people, that I was brave to write about these issues as long as I did and take some of the flack that came with them. And I really don't think that's true. I think it was a matter of just events conspiring and conspiring over and over and over again the whole length of my career. It started, I think, conspiring the first day I went in for an interview for a job at the Bremerton Sun, and the very nice male editor, what a surprise that he was a male, I came to call these guys the mix, the men in power, or the men in control. He felt it was perfectly fine to ask me if I could show him a note from my doctor that I was on the pill, because you wouldn't want to hire, I was then 19 going on 20, you wouldn't want to trust a woman with a job because she might get pregnant. The same week, just down the street in Bremerton, the mortgage banker who was going to sell my then husband and I a home also explained that even though I made slightly more than my husband at the time, they really could only count half of my income for the home loan because you can't trust women not to get pregnant, It made me mad, but it made me also get busy because, it was even before that, before I came to the Seattle PI in 1968, in that really smoldering August, summer of '68, I had already written a series of articles on abortion rights at the Bremerton Sun, kind of when you could sneak that kind of thing in because the men who were in charge really weren't looking for the women in the women's news pages to do anything. And so it won some awards, and then I was off and running my mouth, and there was no stopping me. I remember at the time I felt that if I just wrote strongly and clearly enough about these issues, if I just explained it right, we could take care of this stuff, Everybody would see the logic. If you wrote about the ERA, and you explained, and I did a 12-part series, I said, if you explained that it really wouldn't mean that, the frontline trenches in the wars would be filled with pregnant women and we'd all be in the same bathroom. If I just explained that Referendum 20 would mean the end to inequities, that at the time women with money were able to go to Japan for safe and legal abortions, and women and girls, like the one Karen read about and one I knew, ended up going to places like the Pink Poodle Beauty Salon in downtown Seattle, where I went with a friend once, and where people did not get shampoos. I felt like we'd clear all this up if I just wrote about it well enough, and a lot of other people did too. 40 years later, I was still writing about the same things. So there was never any time for me to be quiet. It was a really wang-dang doodle of a time to start a career in journalism because there was so much possibility. There was, you know, the Vietnam War was raging. I was sneaking out of work at the PI to, don't tell my boss, to march against the bombing in Cambodia. It just seemed like those issues would be settled, but then it became clear that there was never going to be a time to become cozy and complacent, because there was always going to be somebody who said that abstinence-only sex education is good enough, that's all we need. There was always going to be a naval attorney, like one I wrote about recently before I quit, who insisted that a young Navy wife should bring a child to term. Her fetus had no brain and no chance to survive at all, had a brainstem only. But it was perfectly okay for her to have to carry this child to term, and then she could have an abortion, and then the Navy wanted her to pay them back for that abortion. There was always going to be somebody who said that a Defense of Marriage Act was the only thing that would stop this society from imploding. There was always going to be some pharmacist who said that a woman was not should not be able to access a legal prescription from her physician. So it was very clear that there was never going to be a time for me to shut my trap. Not that I didn't have an awful lot of fun on the way. I did have a lot of fun, as you could see from the pictures. I just should tell younger people in the audience that if there's a newer version of my experience, if somebody ever comes to you and says anything like, we've got this job to offer you, and when you do it, you'll get to go to Innsbruck to the Olympic Games, and you'll get to party at the White House, and you'll get to interview Ethel Kennedy and Muhammad Ali and Coretta Scott King, and you'll get to hang out with Lily Tomlin at Purdy, the women's prison, all day, and you'll get to have fun talking to the crazy Robin Williams. Oh, and by the way, you can sit in a tiny little trailer out in Bellevue with Tom Selleck while he's stripping down to his skivvies for a costume change and interview him. And if anybody offers you a job like that, my advice is to say, oh yes, please. But mostly the people that I remember writing about were the non-famous people, the people who trudged along every day just trying to live their lives and changing the laws and changing our world because they had to. Those are the people that were really brave, and they just let me go along for the ride. So thanks so much for thanking me.
Thank you.